In this video, we're going to be showing you how you can use your Arduino to connect to a Wi-Fi network and then get some JSON information from an API, pull that back down to the Arduino and then display that in our serial monitor. So, pardon me. The JSON that we're going to be using in this example is coming from the website arduinojson.org/example.json, but it doesn't need to be this address. It can be any web API application protocol interface that you want that you can get information from. In this case, it's quite a simple bit of JSON that we're dealing with. We've only got 3 bits of information. We've got the sensor, the time, and the data. So we're going to be trying to pull all of that into our application. So the first thing that we want to do in our program, I've got all of the code for this right now here. I'm just going to go through and explain how it all works. So the first thing we want to do is to actually decide on what libraries we're going to be using. Well, we're going to be using 2 libraries in this case. The first one is this one at the top here, the ESP8266 Wi-Fi H library, and that one is the one that's going to enable the Wi-Fi chip on our Feather boards. And the second one is the Arduino JSON library, which we're going to use to actually take a JSON object and then parse it. So just as a reminder, the way that we actually decide on these libraries is if we go to the top and press Tools, what we can do is if we go to Tools and then Manage Libraries, we can type in our libraries here and then we can enable them. So for example, if I were to type in Arduino JSON, it's just updating the list, there we go, Arduino JSON, we can see that that library should appear in the list in a couple of seconds time, and I can select what version it is I want to install. I've got version 5.13.4 installed. I tried this with version 6.7 on the beta, but a couple of the things don't work, so try and make sure that you're using one of the versions that isn't in beta. Normally what happens if you don't include these libraries is you'll get a little bit of an error anytime that you try and verify your code. So we've included these. The next thing that we've done is we have included some variables at the top of our code which we're going to be using. We've got the SSID of the network that we're trying to connect to, which is Pixel 99575 in this case, which is just the hotspot network that I created with my phone. And then the password, which is just a generic password for that one. And then a host, which is the website that we're actually going to be connecting to. So the next thing after that is we've got our setup. So normally inside of our programs we would have a setup method and we would have a loop method. In this case what I've done is I've just put everything inside of the setup method just to show how it works. Obviously what you would do is you would put things that you want to happen again and again inside of the loop. I'll point out what parts of the program that might be and where you might want to make that change. So the first thing we're doing is we're setting up our serial. So we're saying serial begin 115200, and this is just setting up our serial display so that we can check to see what happens. And then we've got a little bit of a delay of 100 just to set some time. The next thing we want to do is connect to our Wi-Fi network. So we've already covered this in a different tutorial, so I won't go into that much detail with it. The main thing that we want to do here is have this little line that says Wi-Fi begin with SSID and password, and these are these 2 variables that we'd set up at the top. So the SSID of Pixel 9975 would be pulled into there, and then password would get pulled into there. And then what happens is we've got this thing here that says that while the Wi-Fi status is not connected, then have a delay of half a millisecond and just print out a dot. So what this does is every single time that the Wi-Fi isn't connected, it's just going to continually print out dots on our screen until it is connected, and then it'll say Wi-Fi connected. If you continuously get these dots again and again and again, there's a good chance that either your password isn't right, or your SSID isn't right, or the network just isn't playing ball. Just have a play around until you can get it to work. So once that's done, it's going to print out a couple more things. It's going to say the Wi-Fi is connected, it's going to tell us what our IP address is on the network, and then it's going to wait for 5 seconds. So after that, what we're going to do is we're going to actually connect to this website and take in this JSON feed that we're going to be using. This is the bit here from this point onwards. I'll just make a little note in here. That you'd probably want to put inside of your loop if you want to do things again and again. First thing I'm doing is I'm printing out connecting to and then the name of the host, which is arduinojson.org. And then after that, I'm invoking an instance of the Wi-Fi class, and I'm telling it that we're going to be connecting to port 80. And then what we say that if I can't connect to the host, which is the web address at the top, and the port, then connection failed and the whole thing breaks. If not, then continue on. So we're saying to the client that what we want to do is we want to connect to example.json, and we also want to make sure that the host is json.org, and then after that we want to close the connection. So what that's going to do is it's going to take all of that and it's going to send that off to the client to actually get back all of the data that we're after. Once that's happened, we can actually then send this request onto the website. So we're sending out a request to check out the HTTP status of the site. The first thing that we're doing is we're checking to see whether or not the website is okay to receive information. What we're looking for is this thing here, a status of 200. An HTTP status just gives us a little bit of information on the website and how it works. You might have heard of an HTTP status 500 or an HTTP status 404. 404 is normally the code we use when a website isn't working. There is one for a correct cup of tea, so have fun trying to find that one. HTTP status 200 means that the website is okay to expect a response. So we know that that's going to work. We've pulled down all the information that we're expecting from this bit of JSON. Now what we need to do is parse this JSON so that our code can understand it. We can see here, if we look, that it's got a little bit of syntax around it. We're opening up our curly brackets at the top and the bottom of any JSON feed, and then we've got a couple of bits inside of here. This isn't normally how JSON would look. It would normally just act as a very big string. I've got a browser extension installed on Chrome to make me see it a little bit easier. I think it's called Easy JSON or JSON Reader. It might be worth trying to get something like that installed. A bit of advice at this stage: anytime that you are playing with JSON, it is worth trying things out in the browser first so that you can make sure that all of the data that you're getting is what you're expecting. Once you've got that working, then you can pull it across and use it inside of your Arduino code. Okay, so what we're doing first is we are skipping all of the HTTP headers because that all comes down as information as well inside of our request, and then what we're doing is we need to get our JSON buffer ready. Now this is a step that normally wouldn't happen if we were creating this in a web application, but the difference between our standard MacBooks, desktops, and our little Arduinos and Feather computers is that our laptops and desktops have quite a lot of memory, so we don't really need to be as caring as much whenever we're trying to get information from a JSON array. We can just ask for all the information and there's a very good chance that we'll have enough memory to deal with that. This isn't the case when we're dealing with these small devices here. We need to actually make sure that there's enough capacity inside of our Arduino or inside of our Feather to deal with this. So this is what we're doing here. We're setting aside some space specifically to be used for this JSON that's going to be coming in. So what we're saying is we're going to be allocating a buffer, so it's an object size of 3 and we've got an array size of 2. We're adding on 60 just to give it some leeway, and then we're saying this is going to be the capacity of this JSON array that's coming in. Hopefully that all works, we parse it through, and then hopefully that all behaves as well. So what we've done up to this point is we've gone to the website, we've taken down the JSON array, we've parsed through it, we've set aside some space inside of our Arduino, and now we're going to deal with it. Down here is where we're actually doing something with this information. So the serial print ln response is just a standard line. The one here that we're really interested in is this bit here. So what we're saying is I want to print out the sensor value as a character. I want to print out the time value as a character. Pardon me. These are all commands that you'll be using again and again whenever you're using our Arduino board to actually do information with any kind of web API that we're doing. You might notice here that it says char. You can change that to int as well if you're sure that it is going to be an integer that you're printing out. Okay, so let's have a look at what happens when we actually run this program. I'll just check that it's all working properly. It should hopefully say that it's compiled. So the board that I'm using this one on is actually a different one than the one that we're using in class, so it takes a little bit longer to actually do the upload. The one that I'm using was about £2 on Amazon. I'll make sure that I put a link up on Blackboard in case anyone wants to buy one of these in their own time as well. So we can now upload this to the board. We'll see what happens. It's going to compile that again, and then hopefully upload that. Okay, it says it's compiled. Instead of uploading it, I'll just press the reset button on the board and we'll see what it does. There we go. Okay, so it says it's connecting to Pixel, the Wi-Fi is connected, the IP address is there, connecting to Arduino.json, and response, sensor type GPS, time is that Linux timestamp, and there's the latitude and there's the longitude. Okay, so that tutorial gives you a quick example of how we can use our Arduino board to connect to Wi-Fi then connect to a web API, take that information from that web API, which is in the form of some JSON, and then use that on our Arduino board. So you should have learned how we can use the Arduino.json library. There is more information online about this Arduino JSON library. I'll just go onto the website for it just now. So arduinojson.org, there's a lot of information on this about how you can actually use this for lots of different things. I would recommend that you read this. It gives you a lot more information than I have in the class, and hopefully it will help you a lot in creating some physical digital systems in the future.